What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, as well as a very sleepy Luca. Thank you once again to Mr. Solo, to Seb, and to Phil, all of whom have provided OMD material. We are continuing through Crush 1985, and the next track is Bloc Bloc Bloc. It's an interesting title because it's spelled block as in a group of entities acting in concert, whether that is domestically or more commonly, I think, geopolitically in terms of nation states aligning for purposes military and or political, though in some cases I think it's fair to say that the blocks are compelled as much as they are willing participants, meaning if there's a dominant geopolitical superpower, other nation states might be drawn into a bloc alongside that superpower, not entirely of their own will, but out of mere self-preservation. So maybe there's something in regard to an analogy on that level. At the same time, block, 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 with commas in between, I don't quite know what to make of that, because it's the type of phrase where you're repeating something to make sure you're understood. So I immediately think of sports. As someone who's played a lot of sports during my life, you repeat things on the pitch or on the rink or on the court just to make sure the message is getting across, because you have to think very quickly, and sometimes you might hear something, wait, what was that? Like, you didn't realize someone was making an overlapping run because they just said one word, but if they say something a couple times, you're more likely to quickly integrate what they said into your actions. And in military engagements and so on, you often hear things repeated just to make sure that people are being understood, when, again, the difference between acting 1 second versus the next can make a huge distinction between what occurs. And yet at the same time, it might have to do with rhythm. It might have to do with, repeating something in time musically. So yeah, I really don't know what to make of the title, but it is intriguing, and ultimately I wonder if it might be a bit multi-layered in terms of the meaning. Like, again, the idea of maybe speaking to geopolitical blocks, but then doing so as it relates to human affairs, or even like musically in the context of a song, sort of in a meta reference. In any case, I'll see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. The track is Bloc Bloc Bloc, and it's from their 1985 album Crush. It would help if I hit start, wouldn't it? Whoa.
I wanna go up to Detroit. I wanna lie in the shade. I wanna visit the president, and then I wanna get laid. I wanna go down to Memphis. I wanna talk to the king. I wanna tell him we're sorry, and it won't happen again. It's a photo by Mary. It's not very, very much like it, but it's not for me to say. She sacrifices her body almost every night, just like a lamb to the slaughter, and she thinks it makes her feel right. So many problems,
song, I just did a reaction to a Thompson Twins tune, and when that song finished, I made a point that it sounded like it was sonically a bit zany and fun, even as it maybe made some more incisive social and cultural critiques. I feel like maybe the same thing is happening here. Certainly it seems to be making some comments about the US, talking about wanting to go to some different places, to go to Memphis and see the king. Sorry, he's a bit late. You want to go to, Washington and meet the president, maybe skip that trip. But yeah, like going to Detroit, where, like manufacturing center, and there were some other lines in there that I think were, regional in terms of the US. But it also seems to be making a comment about maybe like crass sexuality and, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then I'm going to get laid, or, always be good to your brother, which you could interpret maybe on the human species level in terms of, different demographics, different ethno-cultural peoples, and, like treat other peoples like your brother, like the brotherhood of humankind. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to sleep with your sister, or like take your sister to bed. So it seems like it's being really silly / cheeky, but at the same time maybe making some comments, observations, and critiques about the US more broadly, maybe just, 80s culture and society and politics more generally. So yeah, definitely some funny vocals too, like the lead vocal, which is very like kind of big and maybe not dramatic sounding, but it has that like, almost like a talk show host type of voice or something. And then the secondary voice seems to be making some follow-up lines, like acknowledging the comedy or the critique angle of whatever is being discussed. So yeah, I definitely got to hear this again, but it seems like, and what was it, Bloc Bloc Bloc? Something about the whole weekend is taken up, so maybe it's like blocks of time, and they're sort of bundled together and accounted for, and he's like planning a trip or something. So yeah, like in terms of the title, I really don't know what's happening, and even more generally with the song's lyrics, I can see maybe some vague shapes of what it's trying to do, but I definitely have to give this some more listens to get a more detailed sense of the jokes being made and the critiques being offered. But either way, I look forward to hearing people comment. Once again, shout out to those who've helped supply this deep dive and those who are following. As I think I mentioned in my last reaction, I have done one OMD video reaction over on Patreon. I plan on doing many more, of course. So yes, ultimately, with those journeys, the video reaction journeys, it's always a sense of like, okay, which songs, which singles have videos, and sometimes some are easier to find than others, whether because of copyright reasons. Like I always use the example of Soft Cell, because some of their videos are actually not available here on their official channel because of like regional licensing or whatever. And so, I've gone to look for them and only found them on third parties, and then I wasn't sure about reacting to those because, they're either lower resolution, or I wasn't even sure if it's the official video. So yes, when it comes to the music video journeys, I tend to hop around a little bit more and take suggestions from people when they comment on the ones I do. But the point is, there are more OMD music video reactions coming. Do let me know what you think of the song, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.